Radio, a medium that has been pruned, honed, trimmed, winnowed, chiseled, bonsai'd, and deposited here today, ready to be moistened with the watering can of evolutionary jewel. This is the Dennis Miller Show.
Come to me, my babies. Let me quell your pain. Hey, folks, welcome to the Dennis Miller Show. I am the aforementioned Mr. Miller. We'll be taking your calls in our next segment. And for the rest of the hour at 866-99-DENNIS, Mini Machina, 866-99-33-664. But joining us right now, right out of the gate, is Matt Latimer, whose new book is Speechless, Tales of a White House Survivor. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Survive what? What was your task there, and what president, and what have you survived?
Well, I was a top presidential speechwriter to President George W. Bush, and I worked for Secretary Rumsfeld before that, and also worked on Capitol Hill for a number of senators. And basically, I came out of Washington, and my experience there, still keeping my values and principles intact, which is unfortunately not always the case when you go to Washington, as I'm sure you know.
Well, I have never, I've been to visit a couple of times, but I wouldn't go there for that purpose. It seems like one of those strange alternative universes where nobody kind of means whatever they say. Now, one person I did think he meant what he said was Bush,
right.
Après 9/11, when he said that the template as far as how to deal with terrorism, as far as reactive versus preemptive, had changed. And I've always admired him for that. It seems like a large degree of the country has hated him for that. Tell me about President Bush. What did you make of the?
I liked President Bush, and I respected him. And I thought, it had been my goal. My parents are liberals, but I was a conservative, and it had been my goal to come from Michigan to be a presidential speechwriter. And I finally got a chance to do that with President Bush. And I admired a lot of what he did, especially in the war on terror. He was a funny person. Very quick and funny, and I tell a lot of stories in the book about some of the funny things he did, and
well, give me a primo one, because I have seen his sense of humor up close, and it is a good one. What one do you remember specifically?
Well, one time after Joe Biden was selected as President Obama's running mate, Senator Obama then, President Bush came into the family theater of the White House, and he said, "Have you guys heard my line about Biden?" And we said, "No, Mr. President." And he said, "If BS were currency, Joe Biden would be a billionaire."
Well, I've heard, funny enough, I've heard him a little funnier than that. Speechless is the book, Tales of a White House Survivor, and we're talking to Matt Latimer. To be around him towards the end, and I'm sorry, I want to talk about the book, but obviously the conduit for the book is you were a speechwriter for president, and he was the one. The thing I admired about him is I do think in his druthers, like any human being, he'd like to be liked, but I think he realized that he got a deal of cards by history, and in his head, and that's what we elect these guys for, they got to make the call. He wanted to go a certain direction, and that was going to alienate him from a large part of his country, but he seemed to be simultaneously aware of that and not backing up an inch on that. Is that what you experienced with him?
Yeah, he was one of the greatest compliments that I would give President Bush is he never let Washington change him. He was a very exact same person when he came to town that he was when he left. And I think that's a very rare thing that happens to a lot of people. One of the things I talk about on Capitol Hill, for example, is, all these senators get elected and then they forget why they got elected, and they become seduced by the power and privilege of Capitol Hill and think that they're basically the last vestiges of 17th century French aristocracy, walking around with regal bearings. And there was one senator who had somebody on staff who carried her purse around for her on Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I have around 5 people in my head who I had imagined that to be. One thing about the there's a fine line of differentiation. I think committing to a cause of or committing to a sort of approach to a thing is one thing. Bush made the overall call, and he was going to stick to it. Now, within those parameters of here's how we're going to deal with terrorism in the future, I do think there has to be strategic changes in between, and, as you learn more information. And I always thought Rumsfeld's, I didn't think it at first, but eventually his intractability on his approach to the war in Iraq, I thought was deleterious to the cause. Your thoughts on Rumsfeld?
Well, Secretary Rumsfeld, is a person with very strong opinions, as President Bush was too. The thing is about that, Rumsfeld's doing his own book. We can talk about his decision making, which I'm sure he will. But what I noticed from my perspective, I was actually his top speechwriter while he was there, and he and Cheney were particularly close, as you know. But in terms of making war decisions, it wasn't just Rumsfeld or just Bush even. I mean, it was Connie Rice and the National Security Advisor and Colin Powell and others. And it isn't just one person making those decisions. But in fact, Rumsfeld had a certain point of view that he was very vigorous in asserting, but so are many other people in the administration as well.
Mm-hmm. We were talking to Matt Latimer. Speechless is the book, Tales of a White House Survivor. I always like the notes that come with the book where they have the little snippets that sound like very fun to me. Some of the random observations you have in the book as opposed to the overview, the specifics. Why was J.K. Rowling rejected for a Presidential Medal of Freedom?
This is one of those things. This is big news in Britain, by the way. Somebody had taken her off. Mrs. Bush, I think, liked the idea of honoring her because she encouraged millions of kids around the world to take up reading. Sure. And literacy is a big issue for the Bush family. And somebody on the staff decided to cross her off the list. I think it was the political office because J.K. Rowling, with her Harry Potter books, encouraged kids to practice witchcraft. So they believed if the president gave her a medal, he would encourage young children across America to start practicing sorcery.
Matt Latimer, I don't know if you're going to do more of these interviews or this might be, but you cannot go around saying reading was a big issue for the Bush family because I'm kind. I like Bush, but you're going to get delayed. People are going to seize that and beat you over the head with it eventually. Now, here's another intriguing one. What word did Rumsfeld hate more than any other?
He hated the word very, and for some reason he could never use that word, and he sent me one of his famous snowflakes, which are these one-page memos that he'd send around the department, and he said, never use the word very. It is a very weak word.
The things that bug certain people.
I know.
That's amazing to me. Now, what senior White House official was regularly compared to a proctologist? These are great.
I called our chief of staff, Josh Bolton, who he had this kind of way of talking to people where he would sort of be telling you a joke, but you weren't sure if it was a joke or not, and it was usually at your expense, so you're always slightly uncomfortable. So I compared it to meeting him to sometimes going to a proctologist with cold hands.
A very good descriptive thing. And lastly, what did Cheney mean when he said nuke it? What was that?
Yeah, everybody, I'm sure, thinks he means, Iran, which he may have said it many times, by the way. But in this instance, he was standing in line at the White House mess where you get the staffers get drinks and coffee and things. And he got in the back of the line behind all the staff members. And the staffer said, no, Mr. Vice President, please go ahead of us. And he reluctantly finally was encouraged to go to the front of the line. And he had a half a cup of coffee in his hand, and it was cold. And he said to the Navy steward at the window, nuke this up for me, buddy, will you? And the steward said, well, Mr. Vice President, I can get you a fresh cup of coffee. And he goes, no, just nuke it. So they took the cup of coffee and warmed it up for him, and he dutifully filled out the little form that all the staffers filled out, wrote Cheney on the top, and checked one cup of coffee to make sure he got charged for it, which I just thought was a funny and different image of the vice president than people usually have.
Yeah, I'm sure any reporter vaguely in earshot that heard Cheney say nuke it just ran for the local payphone like Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Give me a rewrite, boy. This is incredible. All right, Matt Latimer, it sounds like an interesting time up there, and thanks for pulling the curtain back a little and giving us some of the, I like those little human anecdotes and also some of the overview. Matt Latimer, Speechless, Tales of a White House Survivor.